Independence Day, Monday, July 4th, 2022. Thanks for joining us. I'm George Gerbo. The early weeks of the war in Ukraine were dominated by social media posts showing Russian tanks decimated by small drones that helped level the playing field. But that edge is rapidly evaporating, researchers and military observers tell our Ben Wolfgang. New Russian anti-drone systems are arriving on the front lines in the eastern Donbas region and are making the aircraft far less effective. Specialists say that Ukraine's success with its fleet of small drones came largely because Russian President Vladimir Putin expected a quick and easy victory. Russian troops, having already employed anti-drone weapons to great effect while fighting in Syria, have now moved those systems into the Donbas. President Biden went into Independence Day a year ago on solid political footing, declaring the nation's freedom from the coronavirus. 12 months later, he is struggling to convince voters he can right the ship. Seth MacLachlan reports COVID-19 fears among many Americans have been replaced with worries about the economy. Inflation climbed to a 40-year high last month, the cost of gas and groceries has soared, and the stock market has struggled to post wins for the year. History shows the president's party often loses seats in the midterm elections, and the magnitude of the losses is tied directly to the political climate and the seats that are in play. Out of the 40 midterm elections since the Civil War, the president's party has lost ground in the House of Representatives in 37 of them. As the Supreme Court's term has come to an end, Alex Sawyer and Stephen Dinan look back on the substantial decisions that were handed down from its chambers. The court over the last 9 months heard cases touching on the biggest hot-button issues in American politics, with rulings on guns, abortion, and climate change drastically reshaping American life. The justices said they were restoring the Constitution's original intent by trimming precedents established by previous courts. The next term, which begins in October, will keep up that pace, with cases on voting rights and affirmative action policies in colleges already on the docket. You can read all of these stories at WashingtonTimes.com/front page. You can also find the entire lineup of Washington Times podcasts at WashingtonTimes.com/podcasts. The House Select Committee investigating the January 6th riot by Trump supporters at the U.S. Capitol is emulating the former president's showmanship style to present their case to the public. Tom Howe reports the two have shared a couple of different style points, including the use of hearings held later in the day to gain the most attention, something that Trump did with COVID-19 briefings during the pandemic. The January 6th committee held its first hearing in primetime and drew wall-to-wall network coverage and nearly 19 million viewers. They also share the use of impromptu events, including the scheduling of a surprise hearing last week with Cassidy Hutchinson, a former aide to then White House Chief of Staff Mark Meadows. Outside experts say they don't think the committee is purposely adopting Trump-like tactics, though they are operating in a frenetic media landscape. Military reporter Mike Glenn has a look at China's recently unveiled aircraft carrier, the first designed and built by the country. The Fujian, an 80,000-ton warship named after a Chinese province, was considered a technological leap forward over their first two carriers. One had been a Soviet-era carrier purchased from Ukraine in the 1990s, while the other, although built in China, was based on the first one. Analysts say the Fujian's catapult system for aircraft is similar to the one deployed by the U.S. Navy and now used on the USS Gerald R. Ford, the Navy's newest carrier. It's likely to intensify the debate over how much of China's military technology relies on Western, and especially U.S., intellectual property. And finally, the skies over many neighborhoods will light up with fireworks displays this Independence Day for the first time since 2019. Sean Salai reports booming, bright, and colorful pyrotechnics are planned for New York City's East River, Chicago's Navy Pier, San Francisco's Fisherman's Wharf, and the National Mall here in Washington. Fireworks displays across the country this year are expected to exceed the 16,000 in 2019, according to Julie Heckman of the American Pyrotechnics Association. There are some places where the show won't go on, however. In Arizona, Phoenix has canceled its 3 shows because of a lack of supplies, and Flagstaff will host a light show instead of fireworks to avoid sparking a wildfire. California officials have canceled shows in Sacramento and the San Joaquin Valley for similar reasons. Find all of today's front page stories at WashingtonTimes.com/front page or on the Washington Times app, and find us wherever you get your podcasts. Just search Washington Times in any major podcast app. You can also find us on Twitter and Instagram at WashTimes for breaking news, sports, commentary, and more. For the Washington Times, I'm George Gerbo. Have a safe and happy 4th of July.